Today we're going to talk about the very intense and very tangible power of no. Most of us might not remember when we first learned the word no. But if you've ever seen a child, if you've ever seen whatever age they become verbal, a small being experiencing the power that no gives them, a small being, if any of us ever seen the power of no for the first time, it's a pretty intensely magical experience. I personally, when my son was a toddler and he was discovering no, and he'd be like, I'd be like, do this or put this away, or we're going here now, and he'd be like, no, and I'd be like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, no, and I just get right into it with him because it's such a powerful phrase, right? And it's such a, especially in the era of raising children and consent culture, and with understanding both the dual-sided nature of personal responsibility, personal boundaries, personal sovereignty. The word no is powerful and loaded. It is loaded because it has such heavy inference and cultural implications, depending on the context of its usage. So, in this time, the power of no has taken on some really new context. This is very much related to the power and the intensity of groupthink, as I think we've talked about addressed in the past in moments. So a moment also of personal history again, small review. And cool update. So actually in the last couple weeks I went on a journey, and my journey was, it was just nothing that I expected and nothing that I planned to do on my journey turned out. Instead, everything was different. And for me, this was an incredible opportunity. It was the first time in more than 20 years. I used to travel a lot. Or me and my station wagon and my young son, and we would just go whatever direction that we felt like. And so me and my young son and my coyote at one point, our coyote. So the independence was extremely important to me. Life brought me some new limitations to explore over the last 20 years. The last 14 being an anaphylaxis to wheat, which is fantastic because it's so easy to go places. Life. Try going on the streetcar or the subway, and try finding a seat that doesn't have any trace of crumbs, sitting next to someone, or going on the going into the crowd and somehow trusting that no one's going to breathe their newly eaten bagel breath in your face. So many times I had to jump off of streetcars, take a bunch of medication, and sometimes just turn around and go home because, my week was ruined. So, party all the time on that one. Never mind the experience of dating. You think the classics of, finding someone to go out on a date with are, hard enough as it is. Finding someone compatible on your levels, looking for the same thing, same expectations, lifestyle choices, blah, blah, and that turns you on, and that you're attracted to at the same time. So complicated. Add to that the litany of discipline, of expectations, of, you get to my doorway and I have a list. What have you eaten in the last 2 hours? What about the clothes you're wearing? What about, and then of course the emotional intensity that comes up from, even beautiful and amazing new connections. Should they make a mistake, which is super easy, should they make a mistake and cause an exposure. I remember once I had got complicated, and it became this layers upon layers of Pavlovian response, right? Where just eventually I just said no to everything. No, I don't want to eat that. No, I probably can't go there. No, I don't want to kiss you. No, I can't. No, it just no. No would just fly out of my mouth. And now, and the thing was, even when I wanted to say yes, most of the time, in the weighing of the factors involved, it was not worth the risk. Now, maybe some of you are saying, wow, I think I'm kind of getting this perspective because this last 2 years, my life has been filled with no. So, right? Now, my personal experience was 14 years of, again, Pavlovian, learning from my mistakes, learning layers and layers of more cautions and more walls, which I'm alive. So Canada, as the progressive Lyme disease continues through the population. Anaphylaxis to wheat is one of the long-term complications that can come from it. Not so much in southern strains of Lyme's apparently, but the ones in northeastern Canada, this is is becoming a very significant possibility. So that was me alone. What has been happening on a global level has been millions, even billions of people with all this fear of no, right? So they layer upon all this projected fear, it layers upon each other, becomes much more powerful. And once we get to that critical mass, once we get to that groupthink mentality, it becomes its own justification now. Listen, again, if you're here hearing this and no is part of what kept you alive, applause. Good job. If this has worked for you, then that's really important. You being here, I believe, was the whole point of saying no. It's worked. You survived. Well done. I would like to share with you, though, I think we're going to do this in many different parts because there is so much to say in this, and there's so much to disentangle. I'd like to talk about how the calcified these issues and these emotional projections become. That it becomes like layer upon layer of decision, that it creates a bedrock, that it creates a substance in and of its own, which is very powerful, and which is becomes its own limitation. So and I'm here to discuss with you tonight too, is that, like I said, for myself, the no became so automatic, and it's a constant surprise when I'm like, wait, the other day I had an ice cream cone. Can I tell you how delicious sugar cones are? There are gluten-free sugar cones, and I bet there are some really delicious ones, but just the plain old beautiful sugar cone, the plain old beautiful waffle cone, oh my gosh, the freaking joys of the deliciousness in my mouth place of that experience, I can't even freaking begin to know where to share that with you, the passion and the experience of that. The ability to step back into trust, because part of me still sees these things and these walls come up and this Pavlovian training. The bells go ringing, woof woof, and this Pavlovian training comes up, and every part of me is screaming no. Really start hugging people again. That and in this time, of course, the observer effect changes the very dynamic of the nature of interacting with this to start with, right? But and so the walls themselves